Hello, my name is John, and I make this tutorial because a couple of you guys wanted to know how I achieved this here. And here are some other examples for the same technique, just some play arounds to show that you can use this for multiple forms of tentacle creatures, whatever. So let's get started. We have a brand new scene in here, and first of all we're going to create a cylinder. Okay, so next thing is we may be going to make the lines visible. Okay, then we're going to change the radius to 10, and this is kind of important because we are working with hair, and hair has a completely different behavior on different sizes. Now everything changed the behavior really strongly, like also the amount of segments and everything, but the size also. So yeah, we have a radius of 10 and a height of 5. Then we uncheck the caps because we don't need them. So right now we have the polygons around the rotation segments, and we're going to let the hair grow on the polygon centers, which means that we will have 36 hairs or tentacles right now, and this is a little bit too much for me, so I'm making a little bit less, something like 14. Okay, that looks fine. So now we can convert our object to an editable mesh by clicking this button here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to choose our rectangle selection, make sure no, in this case, yeah, only select visible is unchecked, and then we're going to the front perspective by clicking F4. Alright, so now we choose the upper part, no, the lower part of the polygons, the lower vertices, and we're going to scale them down a little bit. This is to get a better angle, or let's say start angle for our roots. Okay, that's looking fine. Maybe making it a little bit more like this. Okay. Okay, but I think it's fine. Okay, then we're going back to our perspective mode by clicking F1. Then we change the mode from point mode to poly mode again. Change our tool to the light selection tool, a little bit smaller. Okay, and what we want to do now is we want to create two objects out of this one cylinder. We want to split it in half. Well, the half is not exactly right because we have one bigger half. So one side with 8 polygons and the other with 6. So let's get started and select the 8 on one side. And now to create a new object out of the polygon selection, just click U plus P. And you see it right here, we have a new object that has been created, and it's actually only our selection here. This is this here. Okay. But when we make it invisible and make our original mesh visible again, we will see that our selection is still here. So it's not deleted our polygon selection by splitting it. And we will do this right now by just clicking delete. And there's some other thing we need to do because it's not really clean right now. We get still some points left that we only see when we are in the point mode. So we're going to select all of these points by making a little bit bigger radius and deleting all these unused vertices. Alright, so now we got our two objects and everything looks fine. There's one other thing we need to do, and this is actually we want to separate our polygons one from the other. What I mean with that is Right now, when we have one polygon, it's connected by the vertices and the edges to the other polygons around it. When I move it, you see the other polygons are affected, and we don't want that. So we choose every second polygon, up, up, and then we're clicking U plus D, and this will actually split them. Like you can see right now, they're not connected anymore. So we actually got 8 single polygons in one object. Same thing for the other one. Every second, doesn't matter how you start. Okay, so looking fine. Again, U plus D, and you see actually that the thong, the light breaking thong, is showing you that they're not connected anymore. Okay, so now we can name our parts. I would say the first part with the 8 polygons, we're going to name it Tentacle root front side, because this is going to be the front of our creature, and Tentacle root backside. Okay. Next thing we need to do is we're going back to the object mode here. We're going to add a plane effector. It's important that actually the tentacle root is selected. Then we're going to Mograph, effector, and now when you hold shift by clicking plane effector, it will be automatically a child of the selected object. Alright, we have our plane effector, but right now nothing is happening, even if we have some parameters in the position checked here. So why nothing has happened? Well, the reason is that in this case, when you don't work with cloners or matrix or something, we need to change the deformation mode. Right now it's off. When we hit object, well, our whole object will go 100 centimeters up on the y-axis, like you see it here. And when we click polygon, what we actually want, sorry, it's just the simple polygons that are moving around. Okay, but we don't want the position check, we just want the rotation to be affected. So we check the rotation and change it, I would say, to something like, yeah, maybe 130. That is looking fine. Okay, but still there's no animation. It's just a plane effector, or polygons, but all at once and no animation. To change this, we're going to our fall off settings, and we are going to change the shape to linear. It's pretty big, but remember that our cylinder has a radius of 10, so we're going to change the size to 10 everywhere here, and it matches perfectly. Okay, fall off to 100, and there's still no animation inside because we need a curve to define how the animation will look like. So this means that our curve will be here, and this is actually the whole time, and everything that is up here is close to the 100% strength of the plane effector, and a point that is up here or down here will be affected to 0% by the spline effector, and this by time, and the time speed we define it by here. But first of all, we're going to create a curve. So just click here inside by letting string hold string, and then just click inside, and then I'm going to make a curve that looks a little bit like this. That is actually it will be fast, very strongly affected by the plane effector, and then slowly not affected anymore. Alright, but you don't still see anything because we need a time, and we're making really high time, something like 80. Okay, and when I hit play now, you see what we're looking for. So it looks fine, but one thing that I don't really like right now is this is actually our front part, but it looks like it started here and going to this direction, and we want to change this by changing the orientation to X minus. And now you see it started in the front and going back like a real movement. So this is looking good. Alright. So next thing we're going to do is we select our tentacle root, the front, and going to simulate and add hair. So we get some nice hair coming out here, and it's already worked. It's already working, like you can see, but not the way I want it. I want to I want the hair to grow out of the polygon center and not out of the vertices like it is right now. So we're going to the hair properties, to guides, and change the root to polygon center. Right now you see, okay, every polygon has just one hair, so the amount automatically should be, or the count should be 8, and it is 8, so everything is fine. We're changing the segment amount to 20, and this is something when you work with hair you kind of have to decide really early, because every time you change something in this settings here, in the segment settings, will change completely your dynamic behavior, and you actually have to adjust everything new. So we know it, we know we have our 20 segments and we don't change it anymore, and that is fine. Okay. So when we hit play now, yeah, looks kind of okay. So I would say we're going on, and we go to the hair properties, and we're going to change the root to as guides. That actually just means that the hair part is more for the rendering, for the final result, and the guides is more for the editor. But in this case we want both the same, so we're just changing the roots as guides. Then we're going to generate, because this is something I like to see before I move on with the animation, some geometry. You know, I want to see the tentacles already. So I'm just taking a circle, which is really big, but it doesn't matter at all. And we're changing the intermediate points from adaptive to uniform, and change the number to 1. You can change it afterwards, it's no problem, but just to have a better feeling for the timing and the animation. Okay. Then we go to generate in our hair object, change the type to spline, and we put our circle here inside. Then we can rename it tentacle shape. Oops. So like this. Okay. So right now our hair has a shape, but you see it's flat, and that's because of the orientation of our tentacle shape. It's a XY orientation, and we need to change it to XZ, and this is looking better. And the radius of our tentacle, it's not affected by our shape. Actually, it's really cool. It's affected by our hair material, so we can change it here. And yeah, something like 4. It's looking better, way better. Okay, so now we get this and that, fine. So when we play now, yeah, working, but it's not really looking good, and this is because of our dynamic settings. So we're going to change it here. First of all, we're going to change the surface radius to, well, let's say 3. Will be a little bit a little bit over the ground, but it's okay. And we need to change the drag values to something like 10, because it's too directly, I miss the feeling of heaviness and meat in the tentacle, and we will achieve this with that here. Same reason with the stiffness, we're making it lower, and okay, it's looking fine. By the steps, we're maybe saying, let's say 6. Okay, and close it, and the rest hold, I would say, let's say 26. Okay, and now let's have a look. Okay, and yeah, now you really see he's really throwing up the tentacles and pushing them apart, and this is exactly the effect we wanted. It looks like he's grabbing the ground and then tearing itself. I don't know if it's right in English, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, looking fine. So now we have that. Here's everything fine. Maybe change it a little bit more, just a little bit, to -10. Okay, I like that. Next thing, well, we don't need to see the tentacle shape anymore. Okay. So next thing we do is we're going to take a plane for the ground. You have a feeling how it looks when our tentacle are touching the ground. And we're going to make a hair collider on our plane. So when we hit play now, we see, okay, it works and it looks cool. But if we move the plane, it don't really work, because the hair don't stick to the ground, and we achieve this by changing the collision properties. The bounce is going to be 0 and the friction to 100. Okay, now the hair really stick to the ground, and we can work with this by moving actually our object. We will have the feeling that the tentacles grab the ground. So almost done. There's just one thing we need to do, and this is actually going to copy our hair, maybe rename this here to hair front and hair back, because I want to have two different materials, two different hair to work, so we get an effect for the back tentacles and the front tentacles. So the back tentacles can be a little bit bigger, and yeah, we will really have this feeling from front and back. Okay, so that's looking good. So we're going to our hair back, changing by guide the link and putting our tentacle root back and side. Alright, and it works really good. We don't need to regrow them. Sometimes you have a little bit of problems with it, but in this case I'm just making it to be sure. Okay, so oops, so looking fine. We got all the hairs we need. Sorry. So, and now we're going also to copy our hair material, and we're maybe saying here, okay, this is the material for the front, and this is the material for the back. Okay. So we're changing the length of our back hair to 130. Alright. And we're going to also change the material a little bit to have actually something like yeah, a bigger root, I would say, maybe 6 centimeters. But it's not affecting it because we don't put it on the hair. So delete the old material, put the new material on it, and now we get 2 hairs. Alright, that is looking good. And then we need to adjust a little bit the settings, the dynamic settings of our second hair material, of the back tentacles. We're going to change the surface radius to 4.5, and we're going to, yeah, let's say, okay, change the stiffness to 70, the west hold to 20. This are some values I figure out just by experimenting. You always found something cool when you're just playing around with Cinema 4D. So play around with these settings, and you will get your own individual creature that looks exactly the way you want. So this is fine, and maybe we're also going to make the value a little bit higher here because we want our back tentacles to flip a little bit higher. Okay. Okay. So that is looking fine. Hold roots 100%. Yeah, this is it. So now you can see really we have this grabbing movement in the front part and this pushing kind of effect in the back part, right? So this is almost it. Next, last thing we're going to do is we're going to take another effector, time effector in this case. Oops. So Mograph effector, time effector. Don't forget to hold down shift, and we're going to take our time effector, changing the rotation and going to position, and the position, maybe this is the x-axis, so we're going to minus 50. Let's look. Oh, deformation object, they should disappear. Yeah, looking good. Of course we need it for the second root too. Just copy it by letting hold string and then pull it down here. Okay, when we hit play now, we got both of these animations going on. That looks a little bit weird. Yeah, I would say this is a little bit high, so maybe going down to 140. Okay, and we can make this bigger, or even take something different, maybe something like terrain. Okay, in this case we're going to change, just for testing, the segment amount to 20 and 20. If you render it, you can increase it, and borders at sea level, we uncheck this. Okay, and okay, a little bit flatter. That is looking good. and we know that actually our creature is moving in this direction. So when we hit play, oh no, wrong direction, sorry. Okay, just copy the hair collision, or put the hair collision tag on the landscape, delete the plane, we don't need it anymore. And to have a better look, we're going to change we deactivate the grid, and we're making just a guard shading. Yeah, but actually this was the problem. There's something wrong here, and this is really the direction. So now minus 50, let's say just 50 to the time effector by just selecting both at the same time. And we're going to change the landscape. Alright, go back to frame 0 and hit play. And this is it. So yeah, looking kind of good. See it here, our creature is moving. Maybe to have a little bit more contrast, just create a new material. Put this on our hair directly. And we're going to change actually the way we're going to put a color on it, or maybe a luminance on it. It's not a final render thing, it's just to make it visible, gradient. That always works good with splines and cylinder and hair. Okay, so we will see my hair is growing there, starting black and going white. So that is better for the look. Maybe white material on our terrain. Okay, and when we hit play, this is it. Maybe the speed is a little bit too high. My computer is kind of slow right now because of the recording. Let's say 30, and then have a look. Yeah, it's much better. So I think this is it. I hope you could understand it, even if my English is not the best, and I hope I could help you and bring you ideas for your own creatures. So thank you for watching, and maybe I'll see you at the next tutorial. Bye bye.